You go through the timing loop at pit in. It's from that point to when you next get in the car and go across the timing loop at pit out.
Yeah.
And the bit in between is your rest time.
We've got just under 4 minutes of our official practice session left to run. Then we will transition into qualifying. We'll also transition to our live streaming with HD pictures on radiolemans.com and 24hourseries.com. So we'll be bringing you TV coverage also of the qualifying session, which will be for a duration of 20 minutes. So like Joshua Barrett said, we're right on the money and getting right down to business very, very quickly to form the grid for the 12 hours of Spa. So we look forward to that. Now, a question, and this is probably a little mission for Diana Binks down in the pit lane, is currently we have the number 2 Mercedes test team, Black Falcon, at the front of the field with a 2 minutes 57.188, a full just over 4 seconds quicker than, and as I say that, Rick Broik is out in the red Camels. Jordan Seat, car 303, goes a little bit quicker and reduces the deficit to about 3 seconds. But the question to the Mercedes test teams are they here to test or are they here to compete? Because they came out to Portimao and they ran in the race. However, they were not in any competitive kind of guise because they kept running things and trying things, and they were in and out of the pits trying different brake pads, different brake pad compounds, etc., as well as many, many other things. Now, here they are at Spa. Are they here to compete and try and win, or are they going to use the 12-hour race environment as a test bed? And that's, I suppose, a question that we can ask the team sometime over the course of the next few minutes. But we are getting close to qualifying, getting underway and transitioning into a green flag for qualifying, Johnny.
Yeah, Rick Broikers with a really impressive time there, considering that's in a TCR Red Camels Seat Leon, as Joe mentions. Just inside 3 seconds slower than the time set earlier on by Adam Christodoulou in the SP3 GT4 spec Mercedes AMG. So 2.945 is the gap between Adam's time, and the car more recently has been driven by Saud Al-Faisal, who is one of 4 drivers assigned to car number 2. It's Adam, Saud, Alexander Torrell back here after 2 weekends ago. He won the Michelin Le Mans Cup race, you may remember, and indeed the championship for 2017 with his co-driver Jean Gloria. So congratulations again to Alex, and the Spaniard is back for more action, this time in a Mercedes GT4 car with Miguel Torrell also representing the Spanish contingent. I'm not sure whether Miguel and Alex are brothers, they may well be, and joined by Brome Adam Christodoulou and Saud Al-Faisal, and that car is fastest at the moment. But Rick Broikers turning up the wick here. He's even faster through Sector 1 on this lap. We got 50 seconds on the clock, so cars crossing the line now and not seeing the checkered flag quite yet will squeeze an extra lap out of this session. It was billed as a 40-minute affair, but it will probably end up being about a 42, 43-minute session with the extra lap on the end of it. And here comes the CAD Speed Audi, which has performed pretty well in the early stages of this session. Car 108 just turning right now at the end of the Kemble Straight into Le Combe. That sequence of right, left and right corners. CAD Speed emblazoned on the side of that booted Audi, the RS3. It has behind it one of 3 Mercedes AMG cars. And there are 2 of those now at the top of the screen, with Rick Broikers sandwiched between them. Georg Wiebahn, who's now at the wheel of the 84 car. A warm welcome to the coverage here on RS1, part of the Radio Show Limited network. You can join us via the radiolemans.com website in sound and vision as we come to an end then of the practice session and straight into qualifying. So the 2 sessions not technically separated by any indication to the drivers. Next time cars cross the line, they will be onto potentially a quick lap to try and qualify the car. So for the first time on the live stream, you're joining Johnny Palmer, Joe Bradley and Diana Binks as part of our coverage on RS1 and the Radio Show Limited network. It's a busy weekend for RSL, covering 3 different events around the globe. VLN Championship from the Nürburgring on the Nordschleife, Petit Le Mans to bring the IMSA Sports Car Championship to a close in the United States, and this is the 5th and final round of the Touring Car Endurance Series, part of the Creventic promoted 24H series. It's been a fabulous year in GTs, starting off in Dubai, of course, but this championship for the TCEs began at Silverstone, the opening weekend of April, and we've had trips to Manicure, to Misano, to Barcelona, and finally here to Spa to compete for the 12 hours, split across 2 days. 3 hours tomorrow kicks the event off, and then 9 hours on Sunday. Long day for these drivers. And bear in mind, you can enter a car here with a minimum of 2 drivers, and many teams have decided to do that. Promises to be a very busy weekend if you're just here with 2 pilots. So, tricky conditions all morning, frankly, Joe Bradley. It's still raining. Yes, the rain has started again, and just as no doubt drivers were getting used to a slightly drying track and conditions stabilising a little bit, the heavens have opened again.
Yeah, and we're going to get a very wet track again. It was beginning to get damp rather than wet, and we weren't exactly seeing any difference, major difference in lap times being produced. But now that we've got rain coming down again, that's going to dampen the track. It's going to be, you know what, the rain's been coming and going all morning, and I'm not saying that the track has in any way begun to dry at all, but it's going to be about being on the track at just the right time to be there when the track conditions come back to you. Let's have a look down in the pit zone. Welcome to the live TV stream, Diana Binks in the pit lane.
With the AMG test team here, the number 84 car. Indy, good to see you again. You're quite experienced here at Spa. How's it going for you so far?
Yeah, going all well. We're having a new car here, the GT4. We're testing it this weekend during the 12-hour race. As you said, I'm a bit experienced here. I did some 24 hours race in the GT3, so it's a bit different, less aerodynamic, so it's a bit harder for me, but we will see. I did my first 2 laps now. We have a little bit short practice time, so I think I will learn the car tomorrow in the race.
Is the whole focus here for you just to test, or are you actually going to be going for a race win if that opportunity presents itself?
Yeah, we're here to test the car and to see what happens with the car. The car is really brand new. It just came yesterday from the factory, so we have to see what happens during the race, what happens with the car. We had already some issues this morning, so we will see what the race brings. The car is quick. We are also quick, so we will see.
So where do you think your mix of experience set fits in here? Obviously you've got Bert Schneider behind the wheel as well. A great experience, DTM driver, Formula One, a great mix and a great lot of feedback coming to the team.
Yeah, we have a really good team here. We have Bernd as the professional of our car, the AMG driver, and Jörg is really experienced in endurance racing. I didn't know him quite well, but we spoke yesterday, and I'm pretty impressed with what he's doing. So I think we're a really good lineup, and if everything goes well and the car keeps on rolling, I think we can do a pretty decent job here in the 12-hour race. So let's see what happens.
What will be the biggest challenges, do you think?
Sorry?
What will be the biggest challenge?
I think to let the car roll, yeah, you have to see with the rain this weekend. I think there will be a lot of code 60, a lot of crashes will happen. So we will see. I think that's one of the biggest challenges.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cindy Donti, who's 24 years old, from the Netherlands, and a regular with Creventic, but also he also says, I think we've seen him at the Nürburgring 24 hours as well, resplendent in his yellow and green man-filter gear there.
Yes.
He must have raced the man-filter Mercedes,
yeah,
I'm presuming,
the Nürburgring,
in the past.
I believe.
This year?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember back, frankly, but
I can't remember last week, John.
I've done quite a few races since then.
Yes.
But no, good to see him here in all that gear, obviously with a big warm coat and the beanie hat. That kind of is the necessary uniform so far. I'm expecting slightly warmer conditions, perhaps as we head through the weekend. It's not going to be raining all weekend. When I was here 2 weekends ago for the European Le Mans Series, it stayed dry throughout. I don't think we're on course rather for Saturday and Sunday to be dry, but drier, we hope, than today.
It's going to shake the race up, Johnny. It's going to be the weather forecast is intermittent showers. Now that is an absolute headache for drivers and teams, but an absolute joy for race commentators, because it's going to bring an added element of it's going to certainly bring the added element of luck and bad luck, and it's also going to bring the added element of just, you know, being in the right place at the right time, tyre choices, in and out of the pits to change onto wets, back onto dries, etc., etc. And I think what Diana found out there from Indy Dante is the fact that Mercedes are here to see how they fare competitively. Yes, it's still going to be a test. Now, I do not think that they are going to be trying out different brake pads, different brake discs, different dampers even, that we saw them doing at Portimao. I think it is going to be a proper race run. Car 235, the BMW, going slower than it perhaps should be, or perhaps could be. It's already at the Lacombe. Is that Lacombe part of the track now? Yes, it is. It's about to turn right to go ahead down towards the Bruxelles hairpin. So whether that car has a problem, that's the number 235, the red and blue BMW. We'll keep an eye on that to see if he does bring that car in.
Yeah, it's one of a good cluster of Cup 1 cars here this weekend. Duo Racing is the entrant from Luxembourg, and they have one Luxembourger, Jean-Marie Dumont, along with American Alexander Wetzlitz and Frederick and Nicolas Schmidt from France, despite the very German name. And yeah, the Cup division, the Cup 1 division for BMW M235i cars, a regular in things like VLN. There's been a decision that needs to be made clearly this weekend as to whether they race in Germany or here in Belgium, but delighted to say that there are a couple of Sorg Rennsport BMWs as part of Cup 1 this weekend. QSR are here with a couple of their cars from the QSR Racing School. RMA Track Days, JJ Motorsport have a BMW M235i, along with Gamsys Motorsport, also from Belgium. So it's promising to be a closely fought race in Cup 1, as it always is, really, whether they turn up at Dubai or at other rounds in the Creventic Championship. Caught a glimpse a short time ago of the Lestrup Racing Golf, by the way, the all-Swedish team, and that car was working its way through Lacombe. Looks great in the understated livery, sky blue and white with the silver doors. But that's another TCR car with SEQ again in the car title. We need to do some digging as to why what SEQ stands for.
The 108 Audi is into the pits for what looks like a driver change. Just trying to locate that car on our timing screens. The 108 is currently in 9th place overall, and posting a time of 3 minutes 4.6. Fastest time at the moment, though, is the number 84 Bernd Schneider Mercedes. It's the HTP test team running that car, and his time at 2 minutes 52.3 is 3.5 seconds quicker than the second fastest car, which is the Rick Broikers Seat, the Red Camels Jordan Seat, with a 2 minutes 56.017. Back down to the pits.
I'm with Peter Kate from the Cat Speed car, the 108. Peter, you're standing here with a nice cup of tea. It looks lovely in this cold pit lane.
From, right? Comes from Cornwall, grown in England, and it's the best.
What's it called?
Tregethnan, of course.
I'm glad you said that, not me. But I have got tea bags for us, so don't worry. Obviously, the car's just come in. It looks like they're just doing a general check, driver change. I think you're running about 7th at the minute when I last looked at the times. Are you sort of relatively happy with where you are at this moment? Yeah,
it's a very unusual situation because quite a few of us haven't driven this car before. It's obviously tricky conditions in the rain. And it's really about making sure that we get as much time in the car in a very, very short practice session as we can. So I didn't even know we were 7th. Wherever we start, we want to treat this as an endurance race. It's a long race. We'll be there on the grid, and we'll be hopefully having enough laps in the car to feel comfortable.
As you said, if you've not really been in the car, so what do you do to prepare yourself for that situation when you know you haven't got a lot of time?
Well, we're lucky we've got James Kay in the car. He knows the car inside out, so it's set up very well. It's quite easy to drive. It's quite forgiving. It's front-wheel drive. Obviously, that's something you have to kind of remove your rear-wheel drive brain and put your front-wheel drive chip in, and once you've done that, it's fine. But it drives so well. It's a beautiful car.
It looks beautiful. Now, what's James been saying to you on the communications between driver and team manager? Any sort of feedback from him yet?
Well, it's quite interesting because the last time I drove with James, he was a teammate of mine in 2001. in British Touring Car, and in that case we shared very little data. So he's sharing a lot more, let's just say now. So yeah, he's gives some very good advice. Mark's got a lot of experience as well, you know, so together I think between us we're going to find that it's not going to be a problem to drive the car. It's not going to be a problem. What's really going to be a problem is knowing what the calls are on the pit stops and the weather.
Absolutely. It looks like they're taking the car into the garage here just behind us. That's why we're having to move. Sorry about that. Not sure what's going on, but the car's going back in. Any cause for concern? I'm
not sure. There was a little bit of smoke coming out when James just came in. I think it's just a precautionary check, but I'll find out.
Well, we can see Mark Lemmer. Actually, if you just turn around behind me, maybe I can grab Mark, although he might not be able to hear me in the garage. Mark, just a very quick chat. What's the car's just come in, you've taken it in. Is it precautionary or something to worry about?
It's got a little wee oil leak, so don't know what that's about. But apart from that, so far so good.
Well, the time's obviously against us, isn't it? We've not got that much longer left in this qualifying session, but happy with where you are for the moment.
Yeah, car was great. I only got one flying lap, but you know the car was good. Spa's a bit like second home really, and it all comes back pretty quickly, thankfully. But it's a bit of a crazy schedule. The fact that we're only going to get in the wet one lap each before the race. So I'm not sure who came up with that idea, but
I guess it's not ideal. The car's sitting here in the garage at this moment.
Luckily, it's only James, so he knows this place. We've done the 24 hours here for Honda many times, and he'll be all right.
Brilliant. Well, you know, great authority there. Thanks very much, Mark. We'll be catching up with you over the weekend for sure.
Well, showing in the car is James Cottingham, and another of those drivers that know Spa inside out. He was here only a short while ago, but racing in the 6 hours, which was an historic race, and he was in a GT40, slightly different car to the Audi A3 TCR, I would say. Yeah. But certainly he will know Spa like the back of his hand, having competed here many times in historics. But as you heard there, James K are ready to go out, so hopefully that oil leak isn't a massive oil leak, and the Cadspeed car can improve on its 7th in class, 12th place overall. Car dropping down as people now, drivers and teams, getting to grips with the conditions, and it's raining, I would say, even heavier than it has been pretty much. That's the heaviest rain I've seen all day, Johnny, so that doesn't bode well for the rest of this qualifying session.
Strange, isn't it? As the sky lightens, the heavier the rain seems to get, and it's coming down at that worrying 45-degree angle again, stamping home just how blustery it is down in the pit lane for the teams, and of course out on the track as well, which may well be blowing some of the lighter cars slightly off course down the Kemmel Straight, for example. Peter Kate, yeah, 2001 British Touring Car Championship, did a couple of rounds at the start of the year, in fact 3, raced at Brands Hatch, Thruxton and Alton Park. Here's Diana Binks down in the pit lane again.
I'm with Team Black Falcon and Adam Christodoulou. Adam, obviously I saw, I didn't see who was in the car, but I could see you videoing them on your mobile phone, having a chat. How are things going so far this morning?
Yeah, it's been going okay. So in the practice we ended up at the top, which is where we want to be. And we're trialling the new GT4 car, so we're just basically putting it through its paces, getting as much mileage on the new car as possible to see where its weaknesses are, if any. So yeah, we're just testing. Miguel's just jumped out, and his brother Alex has just jumped in for the second part of qualifying. It's pretty tight. We've got 4 drivers in our car this weekend, and not much time between the practice and the qualifying to make sure we all get some laps. But as long as we're there or thereabouts at the front, I think obviously it's a long race, so we've got 12 hours to fight it out.
So is the focus right at this moment really just learning what you can? I mean, although we're into that qualifying session, you said it's a long race. Is it more a focus of just learning what you can as opposed to getting the time?
Well, with this car, we're still developing it a little bit, and so we're just trying to understand what we can do to make it a better car. And so it's worked out. Like, we were here the other week doing some testing, and obviously we're here now doing the race, but this is like a trial race just for when the customers eventually get it at the start of next year.
Have you found anything this morning?
Well, it's been pretty wet, so we're just trying to understand its balance in the wet conditions, and so we've got a little bit of setup to do, and we'll probably make some small alterations in the race as well, because it looks like it's going to be wet for the part of it as well. So again, just getting as much information to get back to AMG for making it the best GT4 car out there.
Adam, for the moment, thank you ever so much. Well, the rain's just started to come down again here in the pit lane. I know we're into the final sort of 5 minutes, I think, or so, but rain just coming down, so it's a last dash and to get back out on track.
Thanks, Diana. And with Bernd Schneider still at the front of this field, Bernd in the fueling area, so getting prepared for another run. In second place overall is the first of our TCR runners. That's Rick Breukers, currently in the Red Camels Jordan. He's about 3.8 seconds off the pole time. First in the, looking down the screens, first in our Cup 1 class is currently 20th overall, and that's the Sorg Rennsport BMW, currently in 20th place overall. And the first of our A3 class runners, current championship leaders in the pits at the moment, is Martin Byford at the wheel of the 176 Single Motorsport Honda Civic. Did those guys win at, I don't think they did. They certainly had a podium at Barcelona, but currently first. 3 minutes 7.5, 15 seconds off the ultimate fastest time out there in these horrific conditions weather-wise. Rain continuing to stream down, and time running out just about on the 3 minute mark, Johnny, so a time for maybe one more lap or maybe two, depending on where you are and where you come across the line.
Some bloke called Paul Truswell's been in touch with me, by the way, to confirm that SEQ in the title of a TCR car is not actually initials, but it is an abbreviation for a sequential box, basically. So SEQ is sequential, and some of the cars, like the Golfs, have DSG in their title, and that stands for direct shift gearbox. So you can have a TCR with either DSG or SEQ. You can barely see down the Kemmel Straight now, and that is partly to do with, I think, the amount of rainfall and water on the camera lens peering down the Kemmel Straight, but it's also down to just a little bit of low-hanging cloud now, almost creating a mist at the highest point of the circuit. So everyone taking Kemmel Straight rather gingerly. There are minimum reference times that we may well talk about during the race, but clearly in TCR there'll be no relevance at all for minimum reference lap times, because nobody can get close to race speed, to dry speed here, because the rain is pouring off the back of the number 2 Mercedes, driven at the moment by Alex Torrell now, the brand new for 2017 Michelin Le Mans Cup champion, co-champion with Jean Glorieux, who's not here this weekend, but Alex is, and driving something very, very different from an LMP3 car.
I'm glad you mentioned minimum reference times, Johnny, because Right Turn Lover was asking that very question. Well, certainly minimum reference times in these conditions are going to be unachievable, because we have got an absolutely soaking wet track now, with spray coming off the cars and causing visibility issues, as we can see from our monitors on the Kemmel Straight. Visibility down to a mere few tens of yards, actually, when the cars are at full speed, with huge plumes of spray now coming off the track surface. As we get towards, we're getting down to only 1 minute before the checkered flag comes out, and still Bernd Schneider in what looks like an unassailable pole position time of a 2 minutes 52.209. Rick Breukers is still trying, though. He's reduced the deficit to 2.8 seconds, and he's still out there. So let's see just where this takes us towards the end of this qualifying session.
Yeah, did a 2:55.0 last time around, did Rick, in the Red Camels Seat. Who else is potentially close? Well, Christian Hohenadel is now out in the number 211 Mercedes. So that is the Uwe Altzen GT4 spec Merc. And Christian Hohenadel sharing with Fabian Hamprecht, Mike Stursberg and Chris Tiger, who had some action in free practice a little while ago. So Hohenadel, well, where is he on the track? He's been released on this outlap, but we've only 14 seconds to go, so I don't think he's going to get round in time to post a quicker effort. With a spin, this time for the NKPP Seat at La Source corner. It made its way around the corner, but after the right-hand hairpin, lost the back end, and briefly it was broadside right across the curb. Difficult for the marshals to signal to anyone coming into that blind right-hand approach that there is a car stuck right in the middle of the track. Everyone holds their breath for a period, but then the NKPP car points back in the right direction. And the checkered flag is now being displayed. So the first car across the line was the 107 Monlau Competition entered Seat from Spain. Jose Manuel Perez A-Kart driving that, and that car's going to finish, well, at best 6th fastest, but that's a great effort from the Spanish crew to potentially get that car in the top 6. Who could be about to improve? Alex Torrell leaving it late in the number 2 Mercedes, but he's up through the first sector and the second sector, and surely the 256.5 that car's already set, in with a chance here of Alex beating that time and maybe getting into the top 3. Rick Breukers is over the line. He didn't improve, in fact backed well and truly off and decided to pit at the end of that lap, so 255.0 will stand as the Red Camel Seat's best effort. And Alex Torrell does go 3rd fastest late in the day, sticks in a 255.131 to mean that he switches position on the second row effectively with Christian Hohenadel. Was 4th fastest, now 3rd quickest, so it'll still be a second row start for the number 2 Mercedes. But we have 3 of the Mercedes-AMG test team GT4 cars represented in the top 4 times there. That looks to be the car to beat this weekend. But Rick Breukers clearly hasn't read the script. He's got a TCR car lodged in amongst those GT4s.
Yes, first of our TCR and a second overall then, but he's got another 3 GT4 cars before the second in the TCR class comes through, and proving once again Juan Manuel Perez Icart, the fastest driver in the Mondial competition. See, I'm not sure anyone will disagree with that statement there. His time there, 6.5 seconds off the pole position time. We're not used to seeing such a variation in lap time, but I'm quite sure the reason for that is these very, very wet conditions. And as we've discussed, going into tomorrow's race start time, by the way, will be 14:55 hours local time. So that is 13:55 hours if you are listening in the UK. Or watching indeed in the UK. So weather forecast to be changeable. We're certainly going to see conditions like this, I would think, across the 12 hours of Spa.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you to Diana Binks down in the pit lane as well. That draws to a close our qualifying and practice then for Friday, but join us tomorrow for race start. From Johnny Palmer and the rest of the team, it's goodbye for now.